So, you think you might be a type 7 on the Enneagram. Maybe you took a test or a friend told you you're a type 7 and you want to learn more about what that means. Well, I'm so excited that you're giving this video a listen because in it, I'm going to cover 3 things that are essential to understanding about the type 7 as you start your journey. First, we're going to look at the type 7's motivations, fears, and desires. Next, we'll look at a checklist. You might be a type 7 if. And then third, we're going to cover my type 7 cheat sheet. How the type 7 essentially shows up in the world at a very high level. Now, if you're new to the Enneagram, it's really important to understand that the Enneagram is a framework of 9 distinct personality types. And it goes about understanding these 9 distinct personality types by unveiling their motivations, defense mechanisms, blind spots, and essentially their default programming for how they show up in the world. Now, how is the Enneagram different from other personality tools like Myers-Briggs, Colby, DISC, Strength Finders? Well, imagine with me, if you will, an iceberg. When you look at an iceberg, all you can really see is the tip of it. You don't see the vast bulk of the iceberg, which is underneath the surface. This is similar to the human personality in that the tip of the iceberg are a human's behaviors. Things like a group of people go out to dinner and 3 people all reach in to pay for the bill. We're able to observe the behavior of going to pay for the bill, but what we can't see is why. What's motivating these 3 different people to do that behavior? That's where we go beneath the surface. This is where the Enneagram hones in to better understand not only others, but ourselves. Maybe one person reached in to pay for the bill because it was the right thing to do. Maybe for someone else, they wanted to assert their dominance so that no one else would have power over them. Regardless of the reason, it's so helpful to understand why people do what they do. Then from there, it can help us get out of a box that we've put ourselves in. So the Enneagram is not a tool trying to put you in a box, trying to make you a type 7, but rather, unfortunately, we are already in a box of our own personality. And the Enneagram is a dynamic tool that gives us the resources on how to get out of it. So let's go deeper. What is the motivation, fear, and desire for a type 7? First and foremost, the 7 is motivated to avoid pain, to ensure that they are never stuck in an uncomfortable feeling. The way they do this is by seeking out new experiences and pleasures that bring them excitement and joy. The fear being, if I do get stuck in an uncomfortable feeling, I'll be trapped. As if a feeling of pain or discomfort is like quicksand that will slowly suck you in and you'll never be able to get back out. 7s are afraid of boredom and limitations. They seek out freedom, to have the ability to explore whether it's the physical world or even in their own mind, possibilities, ideating over new trips and adventures or business ideas that they might have. The ultimate desire for a 7 is to experience freedom, joy, and life to the fullest. They want to make the most out of life. It's funny, but oftentimes people, when they hear their type, go, and I hear this a lot with 7s, but doesn't everyone want that? That sounds nice. Doesn't everyone want to enjoy life to the fullest? And yeah, that might be true to some extent, but it's not the primary driving motivator. For a 7, this motivation drives all of their behaviors. Out of a need to avoid being trapped, A 7 will spend a lot of time in their mind thinking up of new ideas. If this is resonating for you, you might be a type 7. But let's look deeper by going over the type 7 checklist. You might be a type 7 if you're driven by the desire for fun, adventure, and new experiences. You avoid boredom, pain, or discomfort by staying busy and optimistic. You enjoy brainstorming possibilities and exploring multiple interests. You struggle to commit to one thing, fearing it will limit your freedom. You feel restless when stuck in routines or restrictive situations. You reframe challenges to focus on the positive side. You can overindulge in experiences and pleasures to avoid hard emotions. You love sharing your enthusiasm and ideas with others. You thrive on spontaneity and creative thinking. You fear being trapped in pain, boredom, or overall emotional heaviness. If you were able to check all of these boxes, there is a very good chance you are a type 7. But ultimately, and this is important if you're at the beginning of your Enneagram journey, or even if you've already been on your Enneagram journey, to always come back to the Enneagram is about your core motivation. Maybe you put a check mark by 3 or 4 of these. It might not mean that your dominant type is a type 7. For that to be true, it has to drive your overarching view of the world. So for a 7, the way I heard them frame it the best was, I am so happy to stay inside of a house when I know the back door is open. But the moment I know that all the doors are locked and windows are locked, I have a compulsory need to get out because I fear being trapped or being stuck. So, what does this look like? This is the type 7 cheat sheet for how they show up in the world. 7s are optimistic and spontaneous. They enjoy all that life has to offer. They are generally positive people and are very stimulated by new ideas or things that they find interesting. As a result, this can cause them to have competing interests or priorities. One day it's, I want to learn how to build a boat in a bottle because I saw it on YouTube and that sounds fascinating. And now I can't think about anything else other than learning how to put a boat in a bottle. And then a couple weeks later, it's actually, I really want to write a memoir because this is so important to who I am. 7s can jump around with new ideas because it gives them life to think of possibilities. What's next? As a result, their communication is generally energetic and positive, reframing things to be optimistic, the glass half full personality. When it comes to making decisions, they tend to be innovative and adaptable to what's next and where we can pivot to. They bring a lot of energy and ideas into every situation they're in, but they really don't like, and this can be a blind spot, limitations on them. So as a result, when a 7's being told to do something they don't want to do, they'll push back. 7s are self-referencing in that they know what it is that they want. It's clear to them what's going to bring them the most enjoyment out of life, and they don't want other things or people standing in the way of that. So pet peeves are someone that's constantly negative or putting restrictions on them, applying rules to their life that they have to abide by. 7s are going to go out of their way to, at first, try to befriend that individual, be positive. But then it might get to the point where they just avoid that person if they can't ultimately win them over. 7s really don't believe in hierarchy. So when it comes to how they interact with people, whether it is the CEO of an organization or an intern, they have a very unilateral view in that everyone is an adult. We need to treat everyone equally. Challenges can be for a 7 commitment, overall focus, or monotonous tasks. Sevens can have a ton of energy right out the gates around what they want to do, and it can quickly taper off and have a hard time fulfilling their vision if they're not kept on track. People tend to view sevens as fun-loving and positive and adventurous. One thing, or a stereotype I would guard against, is because sevens do have a lot of enthusiasm and are very joyful people, they can mistake that positivity for naivety. And sevens aren't naive. In fact, they're very aware of how others perceive them and how they present themselves. They just choose to live optimistically because it's what brings them the most joy. And that is really the heartbeat of a type 7. Now, on the right-hand side, and I'm not going to get super in-depth in this one because this video is really just for a high-level overview, but you'll see there's 4 other numbers that the type 7 interacts with. A 7 can go to a 6-wing or an 8-wing. Both the numbers adjacent to your home type, type 7, are a wing that you can use to leverage to grow, that you can access. It also has the arrows to 1 and 5. So in awareness and in stress, 7s will go to a 1 or a 5. And this can be used on their growth journey to get out of their default programming, their overall personality patterns. Because again, the Enneagram is about getting out of that box. You are not just a 7. You have 7 tendencies, personality patterns, but you're not limited to that in any way, which is important, I think, for a type 7 to know that you're not limited, even when it comes to the Enneagram. So, all right, we went through that. You resonate with the motivations, the fears, and the desires. The checklist sounds all accurate, but now what? Well, now is the really exciting part. The Enneagram is all about a journey of self-discovery. Go deeper. If this is something that you're interested in, I would encourage you. Some really good resources are The Complete Enneagram by Beatrice Chestnut or Personality Types by Riso and Richard Hudson. If you're more of a podcast person, 3 different podcasts that I have found to be very, very informative are Enneagram 2.0, Enneagram IRL, and Typology. These will continue to give you more information about not just the type 7, but all 9 types and how they show up in the world. From there, start to explore. While there's 9 types on the Enneagram, each type has 3 different subtypes: a self-preservation, a social, and a one-to-one. That means there's actually 27 different possible subtypes of which you might be. So explore deeper, and I'll come out with more videos on that for you to watch. Maybe it's diving into the centers of intelligence, recognizing that while the 7 falls into the head center, it's the only type on the Enneagram that doesn't interact with any of its arrows to the heart center. What does that mean, and how does that influence the way you navigate the world? How do 7s orient to emotions like shame, knowing that they don't naturally go to the heart center? All of this can be used to unlock a greater understanding of who you are. And then lastly, the practice of self-observation. And I love this practice because what it allows you to do, it allows you to observe behaviors in your life without judgment. Why did I feel the need to buy 5 different types of crackers at the store? Why was that so interesting to me? No judgment, but why did I need to do that? Why couldn't I say no to my one friend who invited me to that movie? No judgment, but what is driving those behaviors? Because once we're able to unlock that, we can unlock our default programming so that we don't always have to go to our home base of a type 7. We don't always have to seek out new ideas. If you're interested in going deeper and want to know more, I would encourage you to check out 927coaching.com and set up either a coaching session or a typing session with me so that we can really unpack how that type 7 shows up in your life and what in your life has influenced it. There is so much to unpack when it comes to the Enneagram. And the one thing I will leave you with is you are the expert on you. No one can tell you your type, not a test, not an Enneagram coach like myself. Only you know what's underneath the surface. Only you are the expert in your true motivations of what's driving your behaviors. I hope that this was interesting to you and you were able to get more information about that type 7, whether you are one or you are close to someone or you have someone close in your life as a type 7. I thank you so much and look forward to listening to my next video. Thank you.